Welcome to Silicon Valley Asian Business Talk.
Hello, everyone. This is Roger Chen from University of San Francisco Center for Business Studies and Innovation in Asia Pacific. Today, we are very pleased to welcome Beerud, Sheth, to join our interview program. I want to sincerely thank you, Beerud, for joining us. Would you please briefly introduce yourself?
Roger, thanks for having me here. Excited to, share my thoughts and experience and I guess pay it forward. I've just a quick personal and professional intro. So I grew up in India. I went to undergraduate school at the Indian Institute of Technology, that's IIT Bombay. And then I came to the US for grad school at MIT. All of that was in computer science. I had a short stint on Wall Street, right? Which might be surprising, but it's also very quantitative. So they hire a lot of kids from STEM programs. But then, and that was in the mid 90s, and around that time, the internet happened. So that's when I said, okay, this is a game changer. I want to focus on building internet companies. And, so I've been an entrepreneur since then, a serial entrepreneur. I founded my first company called Elance in 98. Elance, and it's now called Upwork. It's a public company. It pioneered the gig economy or online freelancing, and it continues to scale and grow very nicely today. And later in the mid 2000s, I think 2005 or so, I founded this company called Gupshup, which is the pioneer in conversational engagement. And I'll talk more about it as well soon. But, essentially we help businesses build conversational experiences or chatbots to engage with their consumers. And this is particularly relevant globally in the emerging markets, which are mobile first and messaging centric environments. So a little bit like what WeChat has done in China, the same kind of idea, a super app is emerging in the other emerging markets as well. So we build tools, enterprise tools. We help businesses take advantage of that.
How do we expand and grow in new markets and countries?
Relate to your domain expansion, because clearly your company has entered several industries or domains such as business or banking, finance, insurance, food, beverage, retail, etc. So maybe you can tell us actually what's your decision, what's your journey of entering into these different journeys, and also do you follow a strategy, you kind of saturate a particular market, become the leader, then you branch out, which is typically the some of the let's say the across the chasm theory suggests company to do. But what's your company's approach when you kind of branch out, expand to different domains?
I think it's a. I think it's like if any of the students have played a strategy game, right? There's a game called Risk, which is you have your territory and you have certain soldiers, let's say, and then you want to expand to the adjacent territory, and then you have to have more soldiers and things like that.
Right.
And that's a good metaphor for what you need to do, right? Which is, first and foremost, you need to, any company, you need to identify your space and be very, very strong in it, right? You need to be either the best or differentiated or unique in some particular category, right? If you don't have that, then you don't even have a home base. You don't even have anything to build from. Right. So that is sort of the first objective. And let's say if you've succeeded with that, then and only then can you think beyond that, right? Now, even before you take on any other expansion and so on, you have to say, okay, what does it take, right, to expand? Sometimes it's just another vertical, and maybe the use cases are very similar. So maybe it's easy to add 2 or 5 or 10 other verticals. That may not be super complex because you've already built the product in one vertical. So what does it take to expand? And then do you have the resources? Do you have the advantages? Who are the incumbents in those other spaces? And can you go in and actually win, right? Not just go in and compete, but can you actually win
Wait, yeah.
against the other players in those niches? So I think, just an assessment of those allows you to sort of say, okay, we'll expand into that. And then you can do the same, across other levels. Now in Gupshup's case, right, we've had to think through exactly these kind of things, many different dimensions. So one is, of course, just the product expansion, right? You have these features, and can you add other modules and so on. The other is sort of the verticals, industry verticals, right? If we support banking and retail, then can we support education, healthcare, government, and so on. The third is geographical expansion, right? I think we were in the maybe a few years ago we were very strong in India, but now we operate in 40 plus countries, Latin America, Middle East, Southeast Asia, Africa, and so on. So in each of these scenarios, I mean, you have to think about exactly, firstly, where are you the strongest at? What does it take to expand? And then do you have the resources that allow you to win? And I'll give a specific example where, where we chose not to expand and then actually chose to expand, right?
That's great. Thank you. Yeah. Example is always great.
Yeah, because in the early days, messaging industry was all around SMS. And in the SMS world, the way to deliver enterprise services is you have to build connections with telecom operators in each country, right?
Yes.
So we were very strong in India, where our SMS business there was very strong. But if we went out to other countries, well, there were many other players, local players in each of these countries that already had deep relationships with the telecom operators. And we didn't think that, we had any greater advantage to offer. In fact, it was a huge disadvantage, because all of those local relationships that those players have, I mean, it's hard to replicate that. So we chose not to expand, to other countries. But then when WhatsApp emerged as a new messaging channel, the great thing about that is you just integrate once with WhatsApp and it works globally, right?
Okay,
you don't need to connect with local telcos anymore. So suddenly, what was previously a disadvantage to expanding suddenly now became an advantage, because any tools and services we built for India, we can already offer it in other regions. You don't have to build anything new. It was simply just a go-to-market expense, but the product was already built. So suddenly we had the advantage, because some of the most demanding and challenging customers were in India. And if we can satisfy those customers in India, we can satisfy them all over.
That's a great point.
Yeah, and we didn't have this barrier of building local relationships. So suddenly the whole sort of logic, the whole dynamic kind of inverted, and we expanded globally. And now, we have a presence in 40 countries, maybe customers in about 60 countries, and we terminate traffic to consumers in about 200 countries. So it's sort of really a very global operation now.
But, actually, that's a very good point. But, you can bypass the telco companies, but you still have to build good relationships with corporations, right?
Yes. So that, generally corporations are easier and more open. They want the best features, the most capabilities, and there's also many more of them, right? In every country, there's thousands of enterprises, but there's only 3 telcos, right?
Okay.
And so if somebody has built those relationships, they have a decade-long relationship with the 3 telcos. I mean, it's really hard to get in there.
Yes.
But when you get to enterprises, they're, in general, okay, even if you don't win every one of the customers, you can get a sizable market share. And if you come in with great product, then you may even win some of the biggest customers, where you can dislodge some of the other players, right? So I think that's worked out very well. I think at this point now, Gupshup is a much more global leader and a global company than we were 5 years ago.
Yeah, actually, I will kind of ask a follow-up question, because that's a really fascinating, even for many Silicon Valley companies. But my question, maybe it's a follow-up question. When you go into these different countries, develop a relationship with these corporate clients, do you follow certain kind of rules, or do you have any kind of wisdoms to share in developing relationships with these different corporations? And sometimes they are in different verticals or industries.
I mean, yes, I think so you have to hire a sales team that can, so in each country we have a local sales team that, speaks the language, speaks the culture, or can engage in the right culture. They have some domain knowledge, it could be by verticals or could be by product. They have some experience and so on. So of course, right? I think, typically in a sales situation, right, you have to build trust and credibility, right? And the way you build that is by saying, two things, which is one, we understand the product that we are selling very well. And
Right.
two, we understand the customer's business also, or at least the pain points as it relates to this product, right? Not their whole business. But when we go to a bank, we'll tell them saying, look, we worked with 40 banks, so we know what common banking concerns and issues are, and as it relates to conversational engagement and so on. And here are some journeys and templates and experiences we've already built. Let us show you some examples, and we bring you best practices that others have done. And that really helps a lot. But if you're talking to a retailer, we'd say, look, we work with hundreds of other retailers. Here are a different set of, so we have like these vertical specific decks and so on. And then most important is, we have a sort of a very fast kind of learning culture. The internal flywheel is very important. The feedback loop has to be very good. So let's say we learn something in the Middle East, right? Take those examples and very quickly share it in India and LATAM and so on. Or we learn something in LATAM, we can, share it in other regions and such. So really, we use many of the technologies that we ourselves are preaching, right? WhatsApp and others for the teams to stay connected, to share unique examples and case studies and services and so on. So I think that really drives, it helps educate everybody, because no one person is going to know about every industry, and you can't hire, there's like dozens of verticals. You can't hire always specialists in every region. But once someone understands the product, and then you bring the combined knowledge of a global operation like ours, and you have a very tight feedback loop, then every salesperson has the accumulated knowledge of the whole organization, dealing with enterprises around the world, right? So we try to really package and share that information very quickly, very easily. Or worst case, even if it's not pre-packaged, but if a customer says, hey, I have a meeting with an education company or a consumer goods company in Brazil, next week, what examples can you share? And suddenly, 5 or 10 other people would share saying, okay, here are all the things we're doing. Then it just makes it very, very easy to share. So you have to be a nimble org, you have to be a sharing org as well, and then it works out.
That's great. Actually, I think that's very informative. Basically, as you say, when you kind of expand to a new market space, you first leverage what you already know, such as the banking, retail, leverage those knowledge, and then just apply the local salespeople, local knowledge, then make this a kind of flywheel. Every time you learn something, you kind of incorporate that into the corporate-wide learning.
Thank you for watching.